late night edition. Late nights get a little bit colorful, so keep that in mind if you're listening to this in public. So anyway, stuff that I've been up to, stuff that I've noticed just in the world that we live in, the whole automotive sphere that's out there. Got a whole lot of folks asking me about questions about tuning. Do I do tuning outside of just the cars that I've tuned here locally? Will I help somebody out with a tune? The answer to that is hell no, I don't do any tuning for anybody outside of just the general sphere that I'm in because of a few things. One, I don't trust nobody that I don't know personally with fuel quality. I've been in and around this stuff for a little bit too long, and I've seen where people, you would think that if you have the means to build something and the patience to go through the build process and, I don't know, just the sheer fear of having to fix it if it explodes, you would think that those types of people would, I don't know, not put 89 octane gasoline in their tuned Hellcat or, I don't know. Ask for help with, what should I do with this particular tune? Go in and start jacking with the tune because they don't know what they're doing and end up blowing something up. I want to blame somebody for giving them advice. Not that that's really happened on my end, but I have seen that happen in other areas. So for liability purposes, I don't mess with it. Not to mention, again, too many dumbasses out there. I have done my level best to data log everything that I've ever come near, and I've got a lot of data log history. And when I say that something isn't going to work, 9 out of 10 times I'm right. And folks like to do dumb stuff anyway, especially when they're running it on pump gas. So more power to you. Always enjoy listening to stories when they come back around going, man, I should have listened to you. Took it to setting. There's only a handful of people that I trust with my own personal car. And only one of them isn't right here in Houston. So I'll just leave it at that. There's too many tuners out there that do not speak fluent Mopar that have no business coming anywhere near these cars. And that's why I like I say, I won't go anywhere near other people's cars. Again, primarily for liability, because I've seen too many people do dumb stuff, and it all comes down to fuel quality. So if you're going to get your car tuned by somebody that's reputable, that's got a track record of knowing what they're doing and not blowing stuff up, or do your homework too. Know what it means to put the wrong fuel in your car. Know what it means to not maintain your car. It's another thing that pisses me off. You know how many times we've had cars, or just being around the business, have cars with full catch cans? Do you not know what a fucking catch can does? Christ, this is a bottle of Coca-Cola, right? Or Pepsi. Oh, perish the thought. If this thing gets fuller and fuller and fuller and fuller, and I've got a hose coming out of one end and a hose coming out of the other end, you know what that is? That makes it a bong, okay? It is a bong, and you're sucking at some point, you're gonna be percolating that shit smooth right out of that can into your intake manifold, making what you thought was a problem that you were solving 100,000 times worse when it starts to suck the bong water out of your catch can, and it just saturates the inside of an intake manifold. Guys, I've had intake manifolds come to me to get ported. When the intake manifold comes off the car, it is dripping with oil. Do you not know how a catch can works? It's funny, people will just sit there and go, I put the catch can on the car. It catches things, having no idea that you've got to empty it once a month, minimum. And even if the thing is only collecting, I don't know, one of these little capfuls every so often, you got to keep draining it, because a little capful like this adds up to a full ass bottle like this. And by the way, this amount of soda that's in this Pepsi bottle, this would typically, for most cars, would represent probably 5,000, maybe 4,000 miles worth of driving. Do you honestly think that a atomized mixture flowing through a nucleation site is going, you think that little bitty ass nucleation site that's not even as big as a freaking pinch of Copenhagen normally, do you honestly, and all it is steel wool, do you think that that gets all the vapor out of there? It doesn't. I've also, by the way, had intake manifolds show up and the guy's like, oh yeah, it absolutely had the catch can on it. I'm like, really? Let me show you how much oil your catch can ain't catching. And then it's mind blown. So are catch cans bad? No. Catch cans are fantastic. Just drain the damn thing. Just a couple of things that, add to that whole, why don't I tune people's cars? That's one of the reasons why. There's little dumb fuckrisms like that you just run into that there is no answer for it. And because there is no answer for it, I can't wrap my head around it. My brain does not do like triple, quadruple multitask too good. You give me something to do, I'll figure out how to get it done, evaluate the results, and see if I need to do something different. So when I see a catch can that's full, my only reaction is dumbass. That's the only thing that I know, because the resolution is so simple that you shouldn't have to tell somebody that they have to change or extract oil out of their catch can. I just don't get it. Anyway, it's kind of like if you were to go cast net, you're going to catch bait. It's like throwing your cast net out and then ringing it back in and then throwing it back out again. Like you got to empty the thing or the whole, anyway, you got to get what I'm talking about. Let me check in to see what you guys are up to. Anthony is in. Blade is in. Modern Red is in. Saying, yo, what up, Professor B? Got the arm flex. I like it. Smoking 05 is in. Woo, rock out. Modern Red saying, spot on, brother. Hit him with some truth. Chuck's in. Anthony is in. Again, let's see. Smoking say, I used to work on people's DSMs as a hobby. I got to the point I hated it because people didn't maintain their rides. So think about that for a minute. All right, you mean to tell me you're going to spend all this? Oh, here's the other thing. People will spend thousands of dollars, Brazilians of dollars on making their car fast, and then want to come to the tuner, the guy that's going to literally make it all work. It's like the chef, okay? You brought me ingredients to cook you a cake, right? You got the headers, you got the blower, you got the stroker, you got the camshaft, you got the whatever, right? But it doesn't all work unless it's chefed up properly and served out into the world, basically put together and running the way that it's supposed to. But yet people want to sit there and haggle. This is the other thing. This shit ain't let's make a deal. You're not paying me for the work that I'm doing. You're paying me for the experience that I have. The work is irrelevant. Lifting this bottle of soda is no different than me lifting a wrench and turning a wrench. That's not work. It's the experience. It's the expertise. It's the knowledge. It's the wherewithal. It's the understanding of the platform that you're paying me for. The work is secondary to this. Could literally give the wrench to a 5-year-old. Do the same amount of work. Doesn't have the same amount of experience. So what used to absolutely drive me nuts is when somebody would come in and try to Monty Hall the whole situation. Like, well, I can get it done for less somewhere else. Go get it done for less than somewhere else. And when your shit blows up and you're sending expensive parts into the freaking ionosphere, collect all your tears, bring it back to us, and we'll put it together the right way, and it'll run indefinitely the right way, provided that you maintain it and, little things like, I don't know, put the right fuel in the car and whatnot. But these are the things that would piss me the most. And so another thing that would really scratch my ass on this thing was there are subjective parts to tuning. Throttle response is a small portion of that, but all of it is in transmission tuning. You get some folks that will absolutely drive you nuts to the nth degree. And that's when you say, we will tune your transmission. This is basically how we like to do it. If you want something different, learn how to tune the fucking thing yourself. How about that? You paid all this money and now you want to try to run the thing out in the world like you're an expert. Learn how to do some of this on your own. There's part of a partnership when you go into these bigger builds that if you're asking for something and you want to try to nitpick and nth degree something, that's when you get shoved off into the world. Basically, little birdie getting thumped off the cliff, better figure out how to fly. Because once you piss off mama bird, there ain't no coming back for that barf in the nest. So that's one of the things that you've got to understand is if you've got something that is really nitpicking, or if you're the type of person that is going to pick something apart like that, you have got to learn how to do this stuff on your own. Buy the software, learn the software. It is a hell of a learning curve. But if you've got, I don't know, enough intelligence to get yourself to the point where you've got something expensive that you can, I don't know, hand over thousands of dollars to tune, then chances are you're smart enough to figure some of this stuff out on your own too, and not bother somebody with a tune revision for the, I don't know, 15th or 20th time when it doesn't shift at 43 miles an hour, but 44 miles an hour under a specific throttle input situation. Are you kidding me with this kind of shit? And again, this is the kind of stuff that'll wear you out. And it's the kind of stuff that makes you go, you don't own me for, the $250 tune revision that I gave you. That's not like a lifetime worth of a pain in my ass that you get to be. So again, it's not that difficult to do this, guys. It really isn't, especially if you want to get in and only adjust like shift points or driver command torque, little things, make it your own, right? You're not going in and messing with timing. You're not messing with fueling. That's a whole other thing altogether. By the way, folks that want to try their hand at tuning had already better have taken classes, or just know that you're about to walk into a world where, yes, if you start taking people's advice and not going based and not going into the world based on what you're working with initially and what you've been given initially, you don't know better than the people that speak this language. Trust me. So anyway, Chuck's saying, order the pedal commander for his RT shaker. I'm hoping for some fun and no issues. Pedal commanders are pretty awesome. I've been recommending those things for a long time. I have installed them on my E63, buddies of mine's BMWs, a couple of, at least one Range Rover, a couple of other cars too. If you don't want to tune your car, and there's pedal commander, there's pedal box, pedal this, pedal that. There's all kinds of these pedal type products. The main thing is that you just know that it's an intercept device. It intercepts the amount of throttle input that you're giving the potentiometer that is your throttle if you've got a drive-by-wire, and it's accelerating the opening rate or decelerating it depending on how you have the thing set up. So they're a lot of fun. They don't interfere with the tune or anything like that. They don't void your warranty. They're a fun little thing. In fact, what I used to like to do in mine is I would put it in like super chill mode, where you could start to really roll into the throttle. It would just barely accelerate, and then it would really start to accelerate once you got closer. So let's see. Oh, Smoking05, thanks again. Say, what are your thoughts on the RevMax transmission cooler bypass for an HP70? Worth it on a daily driver 392 car? No. I mean, look, I see where it might help you out if you're doing like closed circuit racing or something like that. But to be honest with you, no. I mean, I don't really pay any attention to that on the drag strip with Chandelier at all. In fact, it's come up only once in conversation with the group of guys that I go racing with. And I mean, we're still trying to figure out if it's ever going to be any good. I mean, like, it's, in other words, will it help? Not really. The trans, I mean, you're good up to what, 220 degrees? I really wouldn't worry so much about it. If you start seeing 200, it's even not really that big of an issue. So, you got guys that hot lap these cars and seemingly don't have too many problems. Now, that's not to say that keeping it cool is a bad thing, but I will tell you that you have to keep it at least 150 degrees. 130, I believe, in the tune is where it You've got spark modifiers that come in and out, I think at around 130 degrees before you get full power. There's a few things that will come in that you're gonna have to take a look at. I forget what the trans temp spark modifier is off the top of my head right now. I'm having a hard time remembering it, but I run all of mine at stock values on the trans side. I don't have one on my car, and all it sees is wide open throttle pulls. In fact, I would venture a guess and say that my car is probably one of the more documented Hellcats that you'll find, and I've never had an issue based around transmission temperature. So for a daily car, don't worry about it. Taking the car to the track a lot might be worth taking a look at. But again, if you're letting the car cool off between runs, your trans temp really won't get into an excessively hot zone anyway. Now, if you're doing, open track stuff, then yeah, you might want to take a look at it. I know about it, I just haven't given it a whole lot of attention. Just saw one. Let's see. One question here. Kind of a cool question. Mike's asking also, is there a good, maybe I missed, there might be another one in here. He's saying also. Oh, Mike's saying, even from still smoky watching the state, I was wondering if I decide to pull a trigger on a 309 limited slip for my 5.7 Challenger. Is it a straight drop in, or do I need to buy some extra parts? For the 5.7, I believe it is still a direct drop in. Dr. Def, I saw him in here. Let us know. I can't, for the Hellcats and the 309 cars, it's a direct drop. I don't know if the axles will match up though for the 5.7. Because typically I would recommend a 370 that comes out of a Hellcat. So you might have to, no, I don't think you need axles. It should be a drop in. Mike's also saying, is there a good spray on lubricant for chassis bushings, or does the propellant those sprays use just not a good idea to go near that rubber? I would say you shouldn't have to hit them really with anything. The propellant's really not the problem. It's going to be the product that you're hosing the thing down with. Just any of the like I don't think a lithium grease would be a problem. But no, the propellant part of it isn't going to hurt anything. I mean, that's just don't hit them. Just don't hit them with brake cleaner. You could hit them with practically anything, to be honest with you. Any petroleum type of lubricant would be fine. I don't think you'd have to go with lithium. But I will tell you that, yeah, don't hit it with any brake cleaners. Don't hit any rubber parts with brake cleaners. That will sting badly. Stock, thank you very much. Hey, Master Mopar, I want to thank for recommending Dr. Div, Justin, and team are great guys. And after installing your Tomcat cam, Innovators West Lower and 275 pulley, we made some good safe power at 845 on E85 and 744 on 943. My man. So check this out, all stock. I actually got the word on that on your car. There is so much left in your car, dude. I mean, it's safe to a point where, like, it's crazy safe. So get out there and have a ball with it. Keep her maintained. Just remember, you got to follow the protocol now on E85. So that means oil changes no higher than 3,500 miles. I don't even like seeing 4,000 miles. And please run a tank of 93 octane through it at least once every couple of months. So, but yeah, you should have a lot of fun with that thing. And that car is not even close to being taxed. Based on what I saw anyway, based on AFR and the horsepower that it's making. Yeah, she's going to be a lot of fun. So, but thank you very much. I appreciate the contribution, brother. Get out there, have fun, be careful with that hot rod. Dr. Div saying, what up, be late night? Hell yeah. What's up, my man? Won't be in long. Cool, cool. Yeah, late nights only usually go on for about an hour at the most. So, all right, let me see. Let me get back up in here. Don't want to miss anybody, so let me hit the rewind button here, guys. Hella, Ken saying one of the most delicious sodas ever made. That's right. Pepsi Zero. Don saying, chimed in at 426. Got to be a sign. Nice. You know, Mr. B. Mason. Oh, by the way, your truck ran a 1420s at a regular cab. And do you know the weight? So that truck, by the way, that was an older video. I had gone through and I'd thrown some, I guess at some point, some videos on a Samsung Cloud or something. Anyway, that one popped up and I didn't see that I'd ever posted it. So that is a short bed quad cab, full weight, 392 gear, me tuning it on 89 octane and on the 20-inch wheels. That is literally how I drove that truck around. So Sport Edition, stock intake, stock paper filter. That's it. I mean, the whole truck is stock with a Flowmaster cat back. So fun truck, and I miss that truck a lot. I kind of want to get another one. So weight on that truck, I think, was 5,500 pounds. I actually, almost everything that I own has a CAT scales weight on it. If you're not familiar with CAT, it's certified automatic truck scale. This is what the rigs go through and they weigh themselves, and that way if they get pulled over, they've got a documentation saying that they're good. By the way, this is for Kitty, and without me in the car, 4180. So and that's with the drag pack, I think, but with a rear seat. Anyway, no, it's without the rear seat. So, where was I going? Oh, anyway, that's kind of the long and short of that truck, and that was my old truck, and I miss it. It's a cool ass truck. I did draggy Buffy though, and Buffy draggied to, what was it? A 1510 on the street, and part of the problem with that is that. Oh, and I also dragged Sierra. I'll be posting those up at some time. But, dude, you want to talk about funny as shit. So, the latest Buffy has no tune or anything like that on it. It's a 321 truck. And it doesn't, like, you can't just stand on the throttle. It'll almost automatically spin just a little bit and automatically shift, chops throttle, creates a mess, and it still ran as good as it did. But the funny one is actually Sierra, because Sierra, I think Sierra won a 1610, which is real impressive considering there is zero traction on the launch on that car. So the funny, or in that truck. So the funny thing is trying to hold it right at the edge of traction and roll into the throttle to the point where it just doesn't blow the tires off, but not wait till long until you roll into the throttle all the way and it kind of bogs a little bit. So it doesn't bog, it just, it doesn't spin the tires. So anyway, it's harder to launch Sierra than it is for me to launch Chandelier, which is funny. So I actually did draggy the truck 3 times back to back to back. And it started off kind of cool. And it was piping hot by the time I got done, and it went 1602, 1604, and 1606. So that thing is like a bracket truck, like you wouldn't believe. But the funny part of it is, you're running along and it hits second and it goes, like that. It's just fun. I mean, it's a lot of fun. The truck, it's a 14-second truck, I'm sure, at the drag strip. But when it doesn't hook and it's peg legging and all that is going on, but damn it doesn't sound good. So I haven't posted any of that stuff up yet, but I've been having a boatload of fun with that draggy. I can't say it enough how much fun I've had with it. Bruce is saying, you always seem to do live chats on the day I need it most. Thank you for therapy, brother. I guess we're your therapy for you, as it seems. In a way, yeah. I think we all kind of lean on each other. Chuck saying, smash the like button. Gary Fuller's got the what up, got the arm flex. I like it. But thank you very much for the kind words, Bruce. Edward's in saying, hey, B, been a while, Mall 392 at 21,000 miles. The floor of the intake was saturated with oil. So bad it was getting oil detention when trying to tune it. Had to pull it off, soak it in Dawn soap. So yeah, that's one of the things that you've got to look out for is these things can't, one of the reasons why there's such an issue with oil consumption or oil saturation is the size of the lines on that PCV line. So what I did, and I've got a video of the truck that I posted the video running the 14.2, which by the way was a shock to me. But what I did is I didn't eliminate it, but I necked it down and I used a GM part that worked really well. And so I go into a little bit more detail in that video. So if you go into the how-to section in the playlists, in the description of that video, so you open up the video, it's like, you can see it's like a dish full of oil or something like that is the thumbnail. But in the description, I give the part number of that GM PCV that I ended up using, that restriction. And it's the same problem that GM had with the LS platform. They were getting a lot of complaints about oil consumption. And again, it had to do with the size of the line and just the volume of air, so to speak. I mean, it's air, but it's also pulling oil vapor with it. And it's just a lot. So they put that part in and it reduced it. It's just a reduced orifice PCV is all it is. Hey mom, what's up? Joanne got a new electric Mustang. Thoughts? So talk about pandering to a brand, but again, Ford didn't have any other way to brand that particular car. So really no harm, no foul with it. When it comes to EVs, and I've got a show specifically targeting EVs and primarily EV owners and EV ownership coming up pretty soon. Cool cars, but you've got to get away from the idea that it's electric. Don't worry about it being electric. Take it on face value as a form of transportation. Go for a ride in it, but more importantly, drive the thing, get a feel for it. And you'll find out very quickly why so many people have started to gravitate to EVs. These latest crops of EVs that we're working with are exceptionally exciting to drive. Issues like range anxiety and battery life spans and things like that, those aren't really concerns right now. The real thing is when you get in it, you can fill her up in the garage, you hop in the thing, buzz around all over town quickly, I might add, come home, plug the thing in just like you plug in your cell phone. When you wake up the next morning, she's ready to go again. And that's really the convenience of that EV. The Mustang, there's a bunch of different trim levels to the new electric Mustang. But to be fair, it's a pretty polarizing car. I don't have a problem with it because I don't see a problem transpositioning the branding. There's a lot of folks that do have a problem with that, and a lot of them are purists, and they've got their place. And if it weren't for them, we wouldn't have the passion that stirs up, everything that we're talking about here. But the reality is that in the landscape of the cars that we're working with now, it actually works. Have her tell Joanne to check out, I think it's Kim Block's. Is it Kim Block? That's got the 6 motor or the 8 motor or the whatever motor Drift EV Mustang. It's about 1,400 horsepower. So there's a lot of things that are coming with the EVs that are going to be extremely exciting. Not the least of which will be the new STLA large platform, which will hold the new Hellcat replacement. What they're going to call it, just don't know. But man, if that profile, or at least that front shot, didn't look like a 68 or a 70 Charger. So we'll see. A lot of interesting and fun things coming in the next 3 to 5 years. But tell her congratulations. Very fun car to drive. Tell her to let you take it out for a spin. I think you'll like it. Love you, Mom. So saying, what's up, be a little late to the show. Got the arm flex. Gary Fuller, Modern Red Hemi on a 1082. Very nice. Gary saying 10's coming, 10.7's coming soon. Oh, Blade's asking, since Fastman is backed up on orders and isn't taking anymore for the 84mm throttle body, any other recommendations? Yeah, give Dr. Differential a shout. Get one of his 85mm throttle bodies. This is the actual blank that I use when I'm porting throttle bodies. This is one of the old prototypes of the billet casting for that. So whenever he sends me throttle bodies or Alex sends me throttle bodies to port, this is what I use, and then we just use the Dr. Differential and Speed Shop throttle bodies on our cars. And they work great. Thing looks like a piece of jewelry under the hood, so you get a little bit of the bling action with that. And you know, like I say, it's just a really good piece. I've had a lot of good reports on this anyway. But again, this is what I use to actually port the manifolds. So get one of those. Dr. Differential and Speed, located in beautiful. Was it? What the hell is it? It's not orange. Anyway, just give Dr. Differential and Speed a shot. Cal's saying, I have no idea how tuning works. I'm going to try to learn after the new year. Learn it. Get out there and try. Listen, the learning curve is super steep, but once you get past that super steep part, you'll be fine. There's nothing that's going to keep you from learning it other than the initial intimidation that you may have with it. It's totally understandable. There's a lot of new things you're going to have to learn, a lot of crazy stuff that is going to be getting bombarded. Just do this. Take it slow. Take it one step at a time, one bite at a time. This isn't a contest. Nobody picks this stuff up really quickly. Even people that have been doing this for a while still get stumped on certain things. So stick with the basics and you'll do just fine. Let's see. Oh, so saying he's been tossing the idea of throwing a little baby bottle in the back. Any experience with a little hundo shot on the 5.7? Not an everyday thing, but with DA going down, maybe it'll get a good pass. Modern Red saying yes, direct for the 5.7. He did it. So, yeah, I mean, you can hit it with a 75 and you should be good, but I would certainly take a look at, obviously tuning for it. You're going to want to pull a little bit of timing out of it. You start getting to the 100-shot range, but you're not outside of the range of what that platform can handle. So check your fuel quality, go down a range in spark plug, go from the 6 down to a 7, and you'll be fine. I think that you might be better off if you went with a full system as opposed to just a dry. You got to remember these engines are making a lot of power for their displacement. These newer V8s are making the kind of power that race engines or very hot street engines used to make back in the day with basically the same metallurgy. So keep that in the back of your head. I'd prefer to see a wet kit on the thing with a standalone fuel system, but really any way you go, you should be good. Just make sure that you take the initial precautions. Again, check the fitness of the car. Make sure you swap out the plugs. You should be in good shape. And again, all stock, thank you very much. Saying thanks, will do. Yeah, again, that car, so you guys know, the dyno, this is something I need to qualify for you guys. The dyno that All Stock's car went on is a dyno that I really don't like too much. And the reason why I don't like it too much is because it reads eerily artificially low. That said, a percentage is a percentage, and a number is really you're only using the numbers that a dyno gives you to base percentage gains off of. I've always been a huge proponent of, if it were possible, zeroing out the dyno after your baseline or figuring out a base number from 100 so you can get numbers after that. In other words, a 50 horsepower engine would show the same as a 500 horsepower engine just from that baseline criteria, just because you're only going on percentages. I'm rambling because I can't physically put my hands around that dyno's neck and choke it. However, it does show artificially low. That car put down 577 to the wheels stock, which is low by any standard, right? So that'll give you an idea of where this car is coming from. So 845 on that dyno is really more like 870 on any other self-respecting dynojet dynamometer. So just know where that's coming from, and I know that for a freaking fact. If it's not 870, it's certainly 860, all right? So, and that 15 horsepower doesn't sound like a lot, but it looks like a lot on a dyno chart. So yeah, 744 on 93, killer number. 845, again, so you guys know that car, the tune that's on that car is so chill in terms of timing. I mean, you could probably have another couple of degrees of timing, maybe even 3, and it would ramp that thing significantly higher in power and still be safe. So again, not to belay the point, but that car is safe and it's going to be fast. So again, have fun. Oh, Chuck's asking, what would be your recommendation for paint correction on a few rock pings in my paint? There are detailers here that do this for $175. Do I have... I'm not going to bore you with me trying to find it. So here's the deal. You can get your paint from Mopar, and it's a good opportunity to learn how to do a paint correction, like a true paint correction, not just when I show how to clean up paint and make it look cool and slick and shiny and everything. What you can do is, if you've got the DA and you've got the pads and you've got all the stuff there, and all you need is to be able to get the paint and just fix the rock chips themselves, sand them down, and then buff over them to bring out the shine. It's really not that hard to do. So the recommendation is just get the paint corrected, or get the paint pen from your local Dodge dealership. Just give them your paint code or your VIN, and they can sort you out from there. But the trick is, obviously, clean everything off very well. Make sure there's no oils or wax residues or anything like that on the paint. You're going to take, there's old school tricks to doing this. Depends on how big the mess up is. But the idea is you can get a pencil. Anyway, get a pencil and some 800 grit sandpaper. Cut you out a little disc, glue it to the eraser, and just kind of rub it with your fingers and just rough up the area just a little bit. Just enough to create a haze. Go in with your paint pen and just kind of fill that in. You can start out with 800 or 1,000 and just slowly work that repair down until it's flat, and then finish that off with 1,500, and then you can go to 2,000 wet, 1,500 wet, 2,000 wet. You'll have an area about that big for a little dot, but once you're done with that, and it'll be kind of hazy, a little bit hazy in the middle, a little bit less hazy on the outside, and then just hit it with a polish and then hit it with a wax. I think I did, was it on Instagram? Where I taped off Foxy. Foxy's paint is destroyed, by the way, from the elements. And the hood and the roof, obviously, are the worst that get it. But that hood is an aftermarket hood with an old, not very paint job on it. So the clear was already kind of coming off of it anyway. And I still got that thing glossy, although you can see the ghost of the bad paint. Can't see it at night, so it's not a big deal. But the roof is the other story. And the roof was god awful. In fact, the roof just didn't want to cut. I thought that I was going to have to wet sand the roof. That's how bad it was. I did wet sand the hood, but what I did is I used an orange pad, Chemical Brothers orange pad. I used Meguiar's compound. Just go to O'Reilly's or AutoZone or whatever, get the Meguiar's compound. Always make sure you shake up your product really good too before you put it on your pad. And that's what I started off with, and I compounded and compounded and compounded. And don't forget to tape off your rubber areas and all that too. But anyway, I compounded and took it from having the consistency of like this mug here, like it's super, super, super dull. to now, I mean, you guys seen pictures of it. It's super shiny. So, well, shit, I'll show you. Hang on, come with me. And I'll show you one that I probably need to do on on a chandelier. Let's see. Yeah, hopefully this is coming up. See this guy right here? I'll be doing that to that spot. Hold on. Well, now the phone's creating a thing. There you go. But anyway, the roof on Foxy was totally dull. And actually, I probably should clean it because it's dirty. So anyway, there's the stuff that I use up there. But yeah, everything's needing to get a bath. Sierra, the tire smokingest truck in town. Anyway, hopefully that helps you out. All right. Mom's asking, should I run 93 octane through buttermilk? No, but 89 I would recommend. 93 octane's really only good if the car can use it. And we've proven over and over again that running extra octane just isn't going to do you a whole lot of favors. I like 89 because it does have a higher knock resistance. And with your car, I mean, you want to be able to run it the way you bought it to run it, and 87 is just really not going to get you there. The Mopars do have a tendency to try to pull a lot of timing through the knock sensors, so just know that coming into it. But yeah, 89 is good. 93, not necessarily, not unless you're running it real hard. But we can always pull the heads, put valve seats in it, hit it with a $150 shot. You know, there's always options. Main thing with your car is to make sure that you are keeping up with oil changes regularly. That's the main thing. Oil changes and coolant changes. Don't forget, fluid changes are the main thing that keep those things running good for a long time. So coolant change, oil change, stick with your transmission, flushing and filling protocols, all listed in your owner's manual. Smoke 05's hanging out with Mike G. Smoke 05's asking, speaking of learning tuning, are there any programs you recommend for learning Mopar, HP Academy, Tuning School, etc.? I would say Tuning School. Anything through HP Tuners is going to be good. You'll have Alex Pites teaching you. That will be what you will want to focus on, and he'll get you squared away. Oh, Mike's saying, sort of unrelated, but a customer at work brought in an AGM battery with caved-in sidewalls, no obvious damage anywhere. Just wondering if you've ever seen that before. Not unless somebody ran it over. Were they using it as a tire stop or something? That's one of the glass mat batteries, by the way, I think like Optima. There are some batteries that don't look like an Optima. They're also AGM, but that's just what that is. Mile High saying, just saying howdy, had the opportunity to run on Salt Flats over the weekend. Amazing place, very cool. I'm very jealous. Help Mode saying, what up, B? Oh, Ben saying he doesn't understand why people don't see how Chrysler back in the 80s wasn't forward thinking when it comes to small displacement four cylinders. It's because a lot of people are closed-minded, I suppose. So for you guys that don't know, or maybe new to the channel, yes, the shop is very near Velocito, Mexico. And as you may have just heard, somebody is going out and getting ready to enjoy the fruits of that all of Velocito has to offer. So have fun. Sometimes you'll hear folks run by, and if they see the truck out there, they'll pipe up they'll pipe it up. I've actually had one guy tell me that he was watching the show as he was heading to Velocito, which that was pretty cool. Smoking's hanging out with Maha, saying he wants to hit Bonneville for sure. Oh, Ben saying Chrysler should have continued to perfect small displacement engines in a front-wheel drive layout all the way to today. I was thinking all-wheel drive. Front-wheel drive and all-wheel drive are awesome. My first car was a Dodge 600. I would love to get another one and do what I know how to do to a 2.2 liter Dodge motor. I mean, that would be sick to death. Have an 11-second front-wheel drive, little sedan. I mean, you can do that. And the scary thing about it is that there were a lot of them running around back in the day. So, there's a lot of misconceptions about cars from that era, that you couldn't do anything, or you couldn't make them fast, or that they were slow. They were restricted, but they were in the middle of, basically it was transitional technology. And so as it was all transitional technology, there are things you can do to those cars now that you couldn't do back in the day. The metallurgy is all basically the same-ish, but none of the technology is any different. And you can certainly go more boost, more injector, intercoolers, and a lot of other really cool things that some of those older cars from back then. So, all-wheel drive cars like any of the DSM cars, or the front-wheel drive cars like the 600, the GLH, the Daytona, were all awesome. But what was even more awesome than that was the Conquest, and the, I just never really understood why that of a car never really caught on. And a lot of the reason why it didn't catch on is because boomers don't like four cylinders. It's just the way that it is. And I don't like using the term boomer, but back in the 80s, you got to remember that they were in their mid 30s to mid 40s. And so, maybe early 50s. And they grew up with muscle cars, and hot cars back then sure as hell didn't have a four-cylinder in them, much less, or sure as hell didn't have a six-cylinder, much less a four-cylinder. And so that's why a lot of those cars never really took off. The people that would have gravitated to those types of cars were in diapers at that point, or just barely out of them. So, talk about being ahead of your time. That's basically the equivalent of being 30 years too early to the party. So I was asking, on those throttle bodies, do you need a spacer? No. He said he had a BBK that didn't fit flush, had to put a spacer to have it fit smoothly. No, in fact, for the NA guys, for the Dr. Differential and Speed throttle body, I port the manifold to match the back of this throttle body. In fact, I take great pains to do that, and when I deliver it to Dr. Differential, the throttle body, I prefer to have the throttle body, given to me. If they're going to use a different throttle body, but I make sure that the instructions are very clear that it has to be centered, and I make it a little bit easier for the guys to center it so that there's not a lip around that thing. Usually I'll open them up to about 85.5 millimeters and make it easy to install. That half millimeter is like a ramp by comparison. So you can barely feel it, but it helps the guys get that thing nice and centered. So saying thanks for the advice, of course. So U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. So Boostane, you mean this stuff? So it works, okay? Plain and simple, this stuff does work. I would recommend, so if you look at the chart on the back, hold on, let me put on my glasses of reading here. If you look on the back, for the 100 octane mix, if this thing will focus, for the 100 octane mix, 32 ounces will treat 34 gallons. It's basically an ounce per gallon when you're putting it in your tank. Put it in and then put your fuel in. Here's the thing. If and one of the reasons why I got it was to put in the gas tank of Foxy and in Sierra and in the four-wheeler and in the generator. It acts kind of as a fuel stabilizer as well. If you're sticking around the 97-ish range, I think you'll be in pretty good shape as far as deposits and things like that. Anything more aggressive than that, and I don't think it's gonna do you a whole lot of good. I don't really feel like you're gonna get any benefit out of it. At least I haven't seen any benefit at the power levels and the states of tune that I've seen cars running this stuff. So for the 285 upper car that runs with us at the track, he's tuned on 93 octane and runs Boostane more or less as an insurance policy, kind of to make sure that he doesn't run into issues with knock. And it seems to work, or if nothing else, it's not hurting anything. Now, his tune is not overwhelmingly aggressive. In fact, it's flagged at a fairly low 13 degrees of timing on 93 octane. But that being said, he's also running a mix that's around 98 octane, so 99 octane at that 1 ounce per gallon range, right around in there. So I would say that it doesn't hurt anything. It probably does help in terms of mitigating knock a little bit. But here's a better way to look at it. Tune your car on 93 octane or 91 octane, whatever that is. Make sure that you're looking at knock sensor voltage, and make sure that knock sensor voltage isn't, depending on what mods you have, if it's got long tubes or whatever, but make sure that the tune is adequate for the car and proper for the parts that you have on the car. Then, if you want to run Boostane, when you get into situations like really low DA, like sub 500 foot DA, run a little Boostane in it then. Or if it's really hot outside, cars are going to be running at a little bit higher engine coolant temperature, then Boostane might help you a little bit there. So run it there. You can kind of think of it as bookending your weather patterns, if you will. Super hot, yep. Super cold, yep. You know, normal 65 degree day, I don't know that you would need it if you've got it tuned properly. But again, don't use Boostane as the fuel when you're tuning the car. Terrible idea. Let me explain to you why. First of all, if you tune with Boostane or any other additive, or race mix for that matter, you have to mix the fuel the exact same way every single time, which means your fuel quality has to be the exact same every single time. You can't do that. You don't have control. There's too many things you don't have control over. Also, this stuff does work. So let's say that you end up getting max power and your tuner is adding timing until he basically the car just doesn't respond anymore to timing. And then you usually back it off a couple of degrees. Let's say your tuner ramps up timing, the car doesn't respond anymore, and he's like, okay, cool, we're done. Wraps it up, takes your money, thank you very much, have a nice day, moves along to the next car. You were at the absolute functioning limit of that fuel that you just tuned it on, including the Boostane. So if you don't run Boostane, now you're outside of the limits of the fuel that's in your car. So just remember, you use Boostane as a little bit of an insurance policy, but nothing more than that. Jamie's asking, what's roughly the turnaround time of getting an intake ported? Usually a week or so. Depends on my schedule. Been saying to me, when Chrysler developed the current generation Charger Challenger, that was almost like the scenario that put Chrysler in the position in the first place in the late 70s. Possibly. You got to look at how good those cars are doing right now. It blows my mind. Kobe's saying it's hot and humid here in Oklahoma. My girl Hellcat Charger Trains is getting hot fast when at the drag strip. What is the best way to cool it down? My Challenger doesn't get that. Okay, so What I would say is get one of the Z Automotive cool down. You know, the Z Automotive tasers. It's got a cool down feature that works pretty well. Just be careful that you don't drain your battery when you're using it. In your scenario, yeah, I mean, if you're hitting it pretty hard, you can possibly start seeing some higher transmission temps. So for you, it might be worth it to take a look at it. But the only thing that'll really cool off that transmission is airflow, and it can sometimes take a little time. You get the thing on the highway, and it usually cools off pretty quick. But let's see. Oh, they don't want to do that. Chuck's saying the chips are small. Did I miss something, or did I forget something? Riff saying, "Hey B, what's up, y'all? What's up, man?" Oh, Ben saying what Lee Iacocca did for Chrysler back in the 80s was very forward thinking. Very true. Also helped to develop the Viper. Riff saying, how much damage could be caused by throwing a 100 shot at my Hellcat with the 285 upper on ethanol? Well, you could ventilate the block, sending parts straight, left, up, right, and down, oil down the track, or the street, which then collects on the tires and causes weird things to happen. Now, if you tune for it, you'll be fine. There's plenty of guys running 100 shots, 150 shots on pulleyed Hellcats on a stock short block. The thing is, though, don't get greedy with it. Don't try to collect more than what it's really there to offer you. Don't use it as cooling, because that's absolute nonsense. You're there to get horsepower out of it. So 100 shot, it's not bad. You really won't feel it, to be honest with you. You'll notice the car feels a little stronger, but you really don't start feeling nitrous on these cars' levels until about 150 shot. Obviously, you're going to want to go with a wet shot. Nitrous Works, or I'm sorry, Nitrous Outlet, I think it was Nitrous Outlet, had a really good one that ran off of injector duty cycle, and it was progressive, standalone fuel system along with your bottle or bottles. And it was a good system, and I cannot remember the part number to save my life, but I remember it ends in a 10, or there's a 10 in there somewhere that you have to get. Anyway, they also make a meth injection controller that does basically the same thing. So I don't necessarily recommend meth. I think guys overuse it, and you end up pumping the intake of those things full of meth, and the distribution gets a little funky. So. But no, there's a lot of guys that go crazy with that stuff, and you'll be in good shape. At just 100 shot. Ah, the EPA, thank you very much. Appreciate that, brother. Very kind of you. Didn't have a question to go along with it unless, oh, here we go. He said, before that, he had said, thanks, he's in Arizona, 110 degrees, pretty consistently, 426 stroker runs hot here. I'm tuned on 91. Sounds like I'll give it a go. Very cool. I would definitely do that. But thank you very much. I appreciate the contribution, brother. Dad's checking in saying, any free, I only really drive my car on the weekend to shows. Anything I should do? Tad, what kind of car? I might be missing something here. What kind of car? What are you looking to get out of it? Performance? You looking for looks? What type of modifications blow your hair back, my friend? Oh, Rick to say he's talking about the app that HP tuners had come out with. Yep, they've been working on that for a while. It works with the wireless tuning stuff. He's saying it's worked well for him. Very nice. Darla, where are you at? Girl saying, why did you pass us up? Where are y'all? Did I miss y'all? Where are you? Did you guys get in earlier? I didn't see you. What was the question? I must know. Chris Gross Darla. Post back up the question. Oh, there he is. He's down here. RT Kid's asking, am I a fan of JDM cars? A huge fan of JDM stuff. If so, what cars are you partial to? I am real partial, obviously, to the Supras because that's kind of near and dear to my heart from back in the day with me. Any of the R34 Skylines, big fan of that. But I also like a lot of the older Celica GTs. I've always been a big fan of those. The 240Z, but the Fairlady version over there, I believe, had a 2-cam version, 4-valve version over there. I mean, without diving too deep into them, cars that I was never really a huge fan of. The 3000 GT, a little bit too heavy. I was always a huge fan of the RX-7. Just completely different driving experience there. But yeah, no, I do like the Japanese stuff quite a bit, especially the late 80s, early 90s, early 90s DSM cars. The Diamond Star Motors. If you're not familiar with that, what that means is Diamond Star Motors. And that was cars like the Conquest, the Laser, oh, hell, man, I can't remember. I'm just kind of drawing a blank with all of them off the top of my head, but the Omni was in there with that. All of these cars were all what's known as a gray import, and they were Mitsubishi's brought in as a Dodge, basically. So Diamond Star Motors, that's where that came from. Anyway, Chris Chicken said, hey man, been a while since I've chimed in. Great racing last Friday night. Very good. Orange Crust is killing it on the drag pack. Think we need a 3-1 pulley, my man. Love me some B Mason. So if y'all haven't seen it, I posted up the videos of Chris and I racing. There is so the draggy video that I posted is our first race, and we had identical reaction times. And that was a lot of fun. The cars were literally neck and neck all the way, door handle to door handle, all the way down the track. The second race is the one that you see. It's actually, the second race is the best video to watch. Chris rips out just a freaking nasty 007 light. Caught me making a ham sandwich at the light, which I don't know what the hell was going on with me on that one. Anyway, awesome launch, awesome view of that car going down the track. And it just looks neat seeing that car in that frame. Really, I think this is about the most he gets out on me. So you can see the car in the shot the whole time. Reeling in just a little bit on the big end, but that's beside the point. Best racing of the night though, hands down. So if you haven't seen it, check it out. You'll see Chris's Orange Crush putting a hearting on my car. But it's really kind of a win for me anyway, because I tuned that car. So look at me. So anyway, but yeah, no, had a riot with that, brother, for sure. Need to do it again very soon. Jamie's asking, so when I send in my intake to get ported, I should send the Fastman throttle body also? You can, yeah. And I always like to try to port to that throttle body, but you don't have to. I'll still use the 85 as a template. So, you know, really no need to send it in. The main thing I like the throttle bodies to be there is because you see the back of this thing, the spacing, the bore and everything, that is obviously independent from this circle right here, right? So if this circle is off center, or the body of the thing is off by just a little bit in any one direction, it can affect how the thing actually mounts up. So I can still port it with the understanding that this has the same center line as the stock throttle body, but I always like to have the throttle body along with it, just to be on the safe side. So if you feel comfortable sending it, send it. If not, I totally understand. I'm not even telling you that I would send it myself. But again, this is the template that I use, and it's pretty good. And there won't be any problem getting yours lined up. The main thing is just to make sure there's no ledge encroaching. So from your point of view, you don't want a ledge like this, right? You'd rather have no ledge and have it be slightly larger the way that it comes from the factory. the hole is slightly larger than the throttle body itself. And again, it makes for easier mounting to where you don't have, again, that little ledge. You don't want to have any ledge anywhere around the lip of the mouth of that throttle body. So even if you didn't send it, I'll just port it to match that, and I doubt you'll have any ledging with it. Dad, thank you very much. Best for upkeep on 392 Daytona. It sits a lot and worries me. So best for upkeep. So what you're going to want to do is, if it sits for any real length of time, anything more than about 6 months, change the oil the second you get back to drive it. Always fill the tank all the way up with fuel if you're going to store it, and use some type of fuel stabilizer. You don't want the ethanol coming out of suspension in that fuel. And by the way, and the reason why you're going to want to fill it all the way up is you don't want to have any air getting into that system. There's already enough water, so to speak, in that ethanol. You don't necessarily, it's hydrophilic. So it's an open vented system. So you don't want to have any more encroachment of air into that system than you need. So fill it all the way up, use a fuel stabilizer, and if possible, if it's going to be sitting for any other length of time, Race Ramps makes, and y'all know the name of these things, and I always forget it. It's the thing that the tire form keeper or something like that. Anyway, they look like a half pipe. If you ever did any skating, that's a terrible drawing. Anyway, they look like that. And the car just kind of sits on them, and it keeps the tires flat. In other words, you're just going to try to keep from flat spotting your tires. Fill the tires up to 40 to 45 pounds of pressure. And let's see, what else? Oh, if the oil hasn't been changed in a while, change it before you put it up. If it's been, like, if you're coming up on an oil change interval before you store it, go ahead and change the oil before. And then if it's in there for any length of time in storage, then again, change the oil when you get it back. It's not the oil that you're worried about, it's the ad pack that you're worried about. And you have an alkalinity scale, and that alkalinity is there to, and your coolant, do the same thing with the coolant. Just follow your normal intervals, though, with that timeline, though, in this case, not mileage. But the oil is a little bit different story, because over time, that the ad pack will start to break down. Whether it's being used or not, the ad pack will break down because it's constantly working. Even if the car is not being run, you've got an alkalinity in that oil that's fighting any acids that can form from air or anything else getting into the oil. Condensation, heat cycles will introduce condensation into your oil. The ad pack will be trying to fight that for as long as it can, and at some point it can't. So again, if you're coming up on an oil change, change the oil. If it sits more than about 3 months, change the oil again. Especially if it's outdoors. If it's indoors, you can probably go a year, but just know what you're getting into when it comes to that. Lots of things you got to think about when cars go into storage. Let's see. And again, thank you very much, US. I appreciate that a ton. Oh, and seriously, if y'all haven't seen the race against me and Chris, it was freaking awesome. Let's see. I hate fake fight. Pro wrestling is fake. It should be banned, don't you think? No, because it's not fighting. It is a stunt show. It is entertainment, but it is a stunt show. And that's what my grandfather used to call it back in the day. And so I'm not going to get into the folks that I've met or that I've known over the years, but it is treated like stunts that you would see in the movies. That's a lot of how that's treated, and the choreography and the athleticism that goes into it is very similar to that. So no, I think it's actually pretty cool stuff. I just don't keep up with it, but I just don't. I think it's bad when they start to take on bits and pieces of their own character, though. But that kind of comes with the territory. Rich saying, let's try to keep this to cars. Actually, the late night shows end up going all over the place, so you never know what it's going to be. Superbirds were cool. Kobe saying, what do you think of the new Z car? Oh, shit, man. You know, the new Z car. Let me tell you what, I like it, first of all. I think that it is not as complete as the Supra. Let me explain to you what I mean by that. And I have not seen one in person, but this is what it looks like to me. It looks like the difference between somebody that is a very talented artist that can draw in the Supra, like they're talented, naturally gifted, that has taken some classes and learns perspective and all this other stuff. That's how I view the Supra as compared to the 400. Looks like somebody that's learning how to draw, that's relying on the learning, the education, the teaching on how to draw rather than talent. It's being built on the same platform as the 370, which is not to say that that's a bad thing, but it, to me, doesn't have that I just want to squeeze it and bite it characteristic that the Supra has. I have got this crush on the Supra that's borderlining a little bit of an obsession, and for no reason. I mean, it's not like the car does anything that's overwhelming. It's just the way that it looks and the way that it sounds, especially with an HKS exhaust. If y'all haven't heard one of those things with an HKS catback, it is despicably nasty sounding. I love the way that they sound. And with just a few bolt-ons, you can get those things into the mid to low 11s, and that's really fast on the street. So and usable on the street too. Let's not forget that there are points to this conversation where shit, power doesn't matter anymore because you just can't use it. But yeah, I've got a huge crush on that car, so I'm going to be biased towards it. But when I look at the two together, especially if the Supra is black, I saw a black Supra with one of the wings on it, and I'm just like, I got to have one. I got to figure out a way to get one. But that car, I haven't seen the 400, so I don't know what it's going to look like. I have a feeling that the 400, with some work, with a different suspension, get it a little bit better stance, different wheels and tires, is going to be nasty to look at. Kind of like how the 350Zs were back in the day. You look at them and go, but then you put wheels, tires, suspension, and you start to looking at it and go, oh, I get it now. That's the way I was with mine. So I'm not there yet. I know that it's 400 horsepower. It's got the 9-speed automatic. It does come with a 6-speed. All of these things are really good. But when I look at a car, I've got to have like some kind of an emotional response to it. And for some reason, that Supra is just dead sexy to me. And the way I've tried to explain the Supra is that it's just so damn cute. But you've got a feeling that it's just like this cute little girl that's got a pair of brass knuckles that you just don't see coming. That's kind of like the Supra is to me. I just want to give it a big hug and a kiss. I'm not really there with the 400 just yet. So, that's unfortunately my take on it. And I have a feeling, I say unfortunately, because I don't know that the looks are really going to win me over. And for me, it's every bit about styling when it comes to that car. Any of the JDM throwbacks, it's all going to be about styling, just the way it is for the US cars. And so that styling is what brings back the memories. If it works out where they stance right and they rim out right, Then it's going to be, how does it run realistically? I don't know. I'd love to see the two lined up side by side, though. Holy shit. Just waiting. Oh, you're saying, salute me, Mason. Got the arm flex. I like it. Oh, that's right. Yeah, Ben's corrected me. The Omni was Chrysler creation on the L body. The one I was thinking of was the Colt, the Plymouth Colt. Very astute, sir. Thank you. Chuck saying, salute to the professor. Chuck saying, I'm out. Catch you on the next one. Have a good one, brother. Smokin's hanging out with Rift. Scatpack's asking, how do you feel about the 28, 10, 17 Hoosiers on my 392 Charger? I hook mostly, but I heard it can hurt my top end. Negative. So what we found with the Hoosiers, the DBRs, is that they didn't affect anything. Now, just remember that you have to have the right air pressure in these tires. And we found that anywhere between 22 and 24 works really well. For the 392 cars, I've run 24, 26 PSI with no issues and no degradation in top end speed. So, and they dead hook like you would not believe. So I would wholeheartedly recommend them. If for no other reason, they'll just make the car real consistent, especially getting out of the hole. The DBR is going to be very forgiving too. So, you know, if you're just going to run the car out to the track, run it down the strip, and then drive it home, swap tires, DBR will be really good for that, even though they're not street legal. So I believe it's actually 28, 10, 5 is the size that you're looking for. Bobby, thank you for the kind words, man. I appreciate that. Oh, yeah, there's Ben checking me again here. Let's see. So saying those wide body supers are looking mean, regardless of BMW being a part of it, it came out right. Listen, I don't care who got in bed together to make that car. I just like the way it looks, man. So listen, if that's what they're going to be pumping out, then, I mean, dude, I'll buy the room. I think that a lot of purists on the Toyota side got a little bit worked up that BMW basically built the car for them. But, man, I got to tell you, I mean, that's not bad company to be in. So, I think it's awesome. Like I say, they look amazing. So, I've got a big crush on the car. Another car that I have a huge crush on is the new Bronco. The new two-door Bronco is awesome. I saw a four-door. Four-door didn't quite get me as worked up as the two-door, but that new two-door is a good-looking rig. So, Rich is saying you had a coworker who wadded up a 350 when they first came out. I had a 350Z, and when I lived in Northern California, I used to tear PCH up in that car down south of San Jose. So, yeah, I loved that car in that environment. In their environment, by the way, that car is practically untouchable. I don't care, Challenger, Mustang, whatever. A 370 or a 350, you can flat foot that car, and they don't have a lot of torque, but you can use every foot-pound that they have under wide open throttle, which means that you can use all the horsepowers that it's making, and it makes life really fun and easy when all you got to do is point and click the thing. So, yeah, I used to put a lot of folks in my rearview mirror once things got real twisty in that car, which is so saying the 350s took corners really well. He never had that kind of faith in a car besides a Corvette. It's tough, man. I don't know what Scat Pack's saying. He's got something at 18. What do you have? It's not a disease, is it? It is. Go to a doctor. But I'm glad whatever you have at 18 is I'm glad you're liking it. Kobe's saying I had the same feeling about the new Z. Yeah, it just, Oh, Himmy Dad's asking, favorite Mopar color? Oh, man. Red line red, obviously. But I like any of the Tour red also. But my favorite color outside of red line is frostbite. Frostbite is one of the coolest colors on that body style. Just really, the lines are nice and subtle. It pops nice. A little bit of an old school flair to it, so I like it a lot. Sublime will always turn my head too, though. But right now, definitely the frostbite. And in fact, Redline's not even available anymore, I don't think. Some Ferrari guys saying Racer X just put out his twin turbo video. I saw it. Scat Pack saying, the Hoosiers at 18. Oh yeah, don't run those at 18, bro. Seriously. In fact, I recently pattern tested those tires. I'm looking around for my other phone, and actually I forgot it's this phone that I have those pictures on. They pattern test really pretty at 22 cold. And what that means is like you saw Chandelier just sitting there. Those tires with the car just sitting there in the shop, they're sitting at 22 cold. Now when you drive it, they'll heat up. But the idea is at 22 cold with a 10-minute run-in time, that is how I pattern tested those tires. And they pattern tested super pretty, and they're very predictable with the pattern on these tires, where they're darker on the inside, a little bit lighter on the outside, but that's mainly because the articulation of the suspension. Any less than about 22, and you get a real dark inside center stripe, and then it kind of feathers out a little bit, and you can kind of get into some wheel hop issues potentially, although I've never had DBRs going to wheel hop on me. But they pattern out the prettiest right around 22 PSI. Always remember to check your tires too, guys. If you're out there running hard, doing a lot of street hits, and doing a lot of drag strip hits, remember that the inside of the tire wears significantly quicker than the outsides do. So you can, just from a glance, look and go, oh yeah, those tires are in good shape. The reality, you could have fried the inside of those things. So just know that, and that can also become worse if you're running the pressure too low. So just kind of a word of advice to you guys on that. Kobe's saying Indigo. Man, Indigo looks pretty too, doesn't it? Indigo looks really pretty on the wide body cars. Himmy Dad saying loves him some Frostbite. Yeah, for sure. F8 Green. Yeah, so saying the deep greens on the Challengers. Lots of love there for sure. Go Mango for him. Absolutely. The classics you can't go wrong with. Go Mango. You know what else? Not to get sidetracked, but Hellraisin looks really good in person. I never thought that I'd be a fan of purple, but dude, there's something about that Cabernet colored car that just, I don't know, kind of does something for me. So, yeah, I like, we had to plug in here. Yeah, I like that color too. Oop, there we go. Oh, Ben saying he thinks they should bring back the Roadrunner or GTX. You know, I tell you something. Don't be surprised to see something that looks a lot like a B body come from the new EV in Stellantis. At least if the that silhouette that we saw from the EV teaser has any, or if there is any indication as far as what that will do for us in terms of styling cues. That's a 68 Charger, so, or a 70 Charger. That's pretty awesome. So if we get that, I'm all right with that. Smug's asking if I'm going to take Chandelier to any airstrip events. If one is local, I might. Like if they do one you know, within say an hour of where I'm at, I might do one. I mean, it would do fine. You know, the car's got a super safe tune on it, can stretch its legs a little bit. I mean, to be honest, it wouldn't be that far away from what I'm doing with it already on the street. So, there's that. I mean, you know, I like those kind of events. They're a lot of fun. And, you know, going out there with a Challenger is neat because, you know, you're going out there with basically a tank. So, but yeah, I mean, I buzzed that car up pretty good during data logging. And when I'm at the drag strip, I will typically run it out the back door to about 140 to 145 before I start throwing out the anchor. So, if I'm data logging, I want to make sure I get really strong data points with that car. And that's what you got to do. Maybe that'd say 71 GTX, nice car. Rich saying Dodge needs a more powerful all-wheel drive Challenger, so the GT needs upgraded engine like the 5.7. GT needs a 5.7. I wouldn't have thought that they would have come out with a V6 all-wheel drive. It just doesn't make sense. Oh, Ben saying he'd be surprised they reintroduce the Coronet as an electric vehicle. I don't know if they'll do the Coronet. I think it'll be more, a little bit more mainstream than that. But anything will be cool, especially if it's making the kind of power they're talking about those things making. So saying, still on the lookout for a 68 GTX. If anyone has one, let me know. I will do that. Let me know if you run into anybody that's trying to offload a 68 or a 70 Roadrunner. I've given up on the 69, but you know, 68 Roadrunner center console car, that's the one for me. And y'all know the story that got away, that Sunfire yellow one that guy sold out from underneath me. I'll never forget that. I mean, there's brain cells that like could totally get rearranged with another thought that, you know, that sucker's living in my head rent free big time. But so getting back to it, I'm going to wrap it up here. Should be at the drag strip on Friday. Done with testing. Just out there having fun right now. Playing around with an 18-inch wheel and tire setup that you saw a little bit earlier. Or maybe caught a glimpse of the bravadas on the back of the car. Just playing with the car, seeing if 18s hook better than 17s. Is there a difference between 18s and 17s? I don't know. Figure we'd give it a shot and play around with it a little bit. You know, in terms of stability, are they more stable at speed? Do they like different pressures? You know, all of that. Just getting some background on those tires, because it's on that wheel and tire combination, because it's such a popular wheel and tire combination, and it just so happens to be something that I've got. So that's really all the thing that I'm testing right now. The idea for trying to test out Boostane didn't really grow any legs, because what ended up happening is when I data logged the car and looking at the knock sensor voltage, that knock sensor voltage wasn't going to change with higher octane. I'm looking at it and it's like, well, it's not really high. Yeah, the tune is just not allowing for it. And I'm not going to put a tune in the car to try to trigger the knock sensors, because in that case, it'll be real knock, and that's me tearing up my motor. That ain't going to happen. So that idea kind of got squashed, but the Boostane was here to try to help solve a potential issue that I thought that I had with fuel quality. And it kind of did. At least it seemed like it did. But I'm going to use that just to stabilize the fuel in Sierra and in Foxy. Outside of that, yeah, we're in that part of the year where, do you really even want to go to the drag strip? It's hot, sticky, DA sucks. And down here, it's not really all about the DA. It's about that humidity. So there's that, which kills power. So speaking of which, I will be doing some regular videos coming up here fairly soon. One of them is going to be discussing equivalent compression ratios. So for my nerds out there, my nerd herd, we'll be going over that. which is going to be based around E85. Why does E85 work with Coyote Mustangs, but it doesn't really work on the 392? Why does it work for some applications and not others? And when would I recommend going to E85, and or more to the point, at what boost level can you really start to get the most out of E85? So there'll be some nerd herd stuff in there for you guys. I know a lot of you guys like that, so I'm going to get a little bit technical. Over the weekend, I put together a chart, and it's just basic equivalency ratios. And for you guys that are into this kind of stuff, this is an aviation set of calculations. It's kind of cool, so I'll go into that in just a little bit as well, so you can kind of get the background on where that's coming from. And so that's the next video coming up. I'm also going to do another one, a little bit tongue-in-cheek, talking about EV owners, primarily plaid owners, and what I think about some of the videos that I've been watching. So that should be coming up in one of the upcoming videos, or I may turn that one into a live show. But that's really not one where I can take a bunch of questions, so I'll probably just do a regular video with that one. So be on the lookout for some ride-alongs. Also, be on the lookout for some of the draggy footage. The stuff that I'm doing on the, in Velocito, the trucks are the hardest to do because they just don't hook up. And Sierra, I may post this if it transfers the right way, because I'm having a hard time with draggy videos actually making the transition from being a draggy video to a YouTube video. The audio gets jacked up. I don't understand why that is. But anyway, if it does, you may kind of hear me laughing in the background in at least one of them, because the damn thing is just so much fun. And the problem is that I'm rolling into the throttle, holding it, like trying to keep it right at the edge of braking. And keep in mind, it went 1602, 4, and 1606. So it was the same number basically every time, no matter how I was driving it, but keeping it right on the edge of hooking up and having the carburetor go into the secondaries. And right as I'm coming into the secondaries, it really starts pulling hard, but when it shifts, the whole truck just wags. It says, rah, like that. Anyway, if that truck were on a set of slicks with a posi in the back of it, it'd be a 14-second truck, but it just doesn't matter because it's so much fun, man. Do not realize how much fun one of these old battle axes can be. So anyway, if I end up posting it, if the audio transfers over, I'll end up posting it. If it doesn't, it's a little bit annoying, but be on the lookout for some other draggy videos from the drag strip, as well as ride-alongs as well. Let's see. Let me check in with you guys real quick, and then I am going to pull the ripcord. Your dad saying if they do a throwback second-gen Charger and put the 426 in it, I will mortgage my house. Real talk on that. Tom Power saying, you still on? I'm out. So saying, Buddy has one. It's a 68 clone 426. He's looking 65 large on that thing. Ben saying a throwback Plymouth Roadrunner wouldn't be bad. So is going to check in with that B body that's out there. So I just put a cam together for a guy that did a 392 TR6060 swap in a 69 Roadrunner. Real pretty car. And anyway, it's just a cam to liven the thing up a little bit, and it definitely did that. So but yeah, real pretty car, but it's definitely a higher end deal. Sovereign saying, hey, Mason, freaking working late for sure. Sovereign saying viruses took down a business and trying to get the computers back up. Yikes. Donald saying sandbags against the tailgate, it will hook up better. Yeah, but it's not as much fun. Dude, so you gotta understand. So Sierra is probably it's just such a chill truck to drive. Okay, so you fight, like you pump the gas twice, bump the starter, and it's right. truck just runs so sweet. Even though that 400, I don't even know what cam's in. It's probably an RV cam, super small cam. And even though it's got blow by, you'd never know that that engine's worn out by the way that it runs. I don't have the heart to do anything to that truck power-wise because it just makes me smile. It cracks me up every time I drive it. Puts a big old dumb smile on my face. And it's a completely different driving experience. The only thing I want to do with that truck is re-gear it and put the 354s back in it or some of those lines, just so that it's got legs. You can't drive it on the highway with the 410s that are in it. And it's got to have a little bit better legs. So the 354s do need to get back in it so it'll cruise comfortably at like 75 or 80. And it'll still do burnouts for distance with 354s. So I'm sure it would. So I'm not really too worried about it. But it's just, it's so funny because you don't expect this long wheelbase 3/4 ton truck to be lighting the tires up the way that it does. So it's just a lot of fun. Sovereign saying fun. Saying, I love the 68 B-body Charger. That is my favorite. Yeah, 68 and 70 are my two favorite years for the B-bodies. I just cannot get enough of the 70 Charger, 68 Roadrunner, 68 Charger as well. Always be my favorite. So, although that 66 with that long sloping fastback looks good too. But guys, with that, I got to wrap it up because I got to wake up with the Amish. This has actually been kind of a chill motor chat after hours. Normally these things can kind of get a little bit racy. So, we will catch up with y'all on the next one. Make sure I'm not forgetting anybody. Oh, Sovereign saying peace out, y'all. So with that, guys, love each and every one of y'all. Would not do this without you. If you're going to send it, don't bend it. Keep her shiny side up. We'll catch y'all on the next one. Ray, miss you. Love you, buddy. And that is a wrap. Adios.